Hello and welcome to another edition of the Door 14 Hockey Podcast. I'm your host Marty alongside Dave
Hello.
and John.
Hey.
This is a off-season special, as we're calling it. We are in the depths of the off-season, and I know before someone says it, there's other seasons going on in other countries around the world, and there's still hockey being played. But here in the UK, it is officially our off-season, and we are still treating it as such. But we thought we'd jump on. It's the end of June 2025, and we thought we'd jump on and have a quick catch up, boys, around the league, see what's been going on for the different teams around the Elite Ice Hockey League, and also just catch up a wee bit on the NHL playoffs, which have finished as well. Boys, how are you doing so far this off season? Dave, how are you doing?
Good. Feeling super old. My eldest finished primary school, so it's just, old man. Getting ready for him going to secondary school next year, so it's great stuff.
Wow, I know. I can't believe I can't believe how quickly that's came around. It's just insane. It just feels like it's crazy.
Yesterday,
Crazy. I can't imagine what it must feel like for you. But that's insane.
It's really weird.
And John, how are things with you? I know you are in the process of shifting out of the house and about to be made not homeless, because that's the wrong phrase. And you're moving to somewhere else for a few months as renovations start there in Fife.
Yeah, so this is officially the last podcast I will do in this studio. This is my, third or fourth different podcast studio of the last 10 years. And hopefully at some point in the next season, there will be a new permanent one. It may not be in its final form for all those Dragon Ball fans out there, but it will, most likely for the start of the season, the new podcast will be coming from the dining room of the house about 100 yards that way, where I'm going to be staying for the next 5 months or so while the whole back of my house is knocked off and a new arse is put on my house that will have 3 bathrooms, a kitchen, a new bedroom, a utility room, all this sort of sexy, lovely stuff being added to the house. And a new floor in the existing part of the house that I'm not going to fall through.
Hey.
We're officially that old that we're just excited about renovations and following renovations online. So,
mate, the
most of my
is
YouTube,
just the most exciting thing ever.
most of my YouTube is people renovating their houses.
Other than all of the rewatches of our podcast that you do, mate.
Oh yeah.
Clearly.
Well,
clearly.
who else is going to watch it?
Well,
Aaron,
the 1,101 fans that we now have on TikTok. Thank you very much.
Great job.
Added over the last month or so, we've added well over 700 fans. We ticked over that 1K mark, which I know is still wee buns compared to a lot of things, but listen, that's for 4 lads who talk ice hockey in their spare time. That's pretty amazing, and we've had some really, really good interaction and some really good results on TikTok too.
Yeah, and not to blow up your head or anything, but yeah, definitely fair play, John. You've done some great work there on TikTok over the last few weeks, and your current run of consecutive days of trying to get the attention of the Elite League teams has been quite fun. The shallow dives, particularly, I really enjoyed those. So very well done. Good job.
40 days of posting as of today. Very quick one today. So yesterday's was obviously a bit of a departure. We had a look at the SNL. Because I put a question out there and said, should we look at the other leagues while we're waiting for the other Elite League teams that haven't yet committed to the podcast to finally make that decision? And the overwhelming majority was, yes, let's look at the other leagues as well. So we've done a quick shallow dive into the SNL, and I will, probably in the next week or so, we'll do a shallow, very shallow, Anthony, shallow dive into the NIHL once I have scoured Wikipedia and have asked ChatGPT to explain it in the simplest forms as possible, and I'll just regurgitate what it says to me.
And I'm officially going to apologize publicly for the fact that I have not had a chance yet to help you with any of those videos. I have been meaning to, but I'm currently working on a secret top secret project for the podcast. which hopefully will be revealed this coming August, which will be our 10th anniversary. So I'll be revealed then. So I've been working on it quite a bit. So we'll see what happens. Aaron can't join us tonight, unfortunately. His whole family are slightly under the weather. They're just back from Boston as a family, and I think they've caught some kind of flu, lurgy bug type thing. So we're hoping they're all getting a little better soon. Boys, there has been quite a bit. I should just mention for anybody, you can clearly see that I have been to Primark, Pennies, depending on which part you're from. I picked up one of the Toronto jerseys they have, and I also picked up the Ducks one as well. Pretty good, actually. Pretty good quality for only 16 quid. Not bad. But yes, as I was saying, there is
better quality than like 90% of the Clan summer sale. So well done, mate.
As I was saying, we do have quite a few bits to get through tonight. We wanted to kind of use this off-season special just to kind of run down kind of any major stories so far for each team. Some teams have had some stories, some teams haven't. But what we thought we'd do is do a little round robin. Each person takes a team. Each will go through them. We'll do whatever the main story has been so far over the summer, and then just kind of a quick rundown of maybe some of the key signings, departures that have happened so far for each of those teams. I'm just basically have a bit of a chat about those. So it won't be the usual standard format that you're used to if you're a regular listener or watcher to our podcast. Usually we do a process of 3 periods, period 1, 2, and 3, with different types of stories. But tonight, and for this off-season special, and potentially the next one, if there is going to be a next one, which I think there will be at the end of July. I'm just kind of making that decision today. There'll just be kind of just us running through the stories without our usual period breaks. So with that, let's get stuck in. We're going to start off first and foremost, obviously, alphabetical order for the Elite Ice Hockey League, and we're going to start off with the Belfast Giants, our very own Belfast Giants, I should say, because we are all Belfast Giants fans for anybody who's listening for the first time. Main story coming out of Belfast, well, the two main things coming out of Belfast was the first one, Adam Keefe signing extending his contract with Belfast. Don't know if that was ever really in doubt, let's be honest, boys. Whenever that was announced that Adam Keefe was extending his contract for in Belfast further, I think we all kind of were like, well, I think we all kind of guessed that was going to happen.
You say that, but the rumor mill after playoffs was its usual absolute nonsense. Like, he had his testimonial, he saw his number 47 go to the rafters, and of course the rumor mill just went into complete overdrive, as it does, especially the fact that Sheldon and the whole family came over to Belfast. There was all this, and everyone's going, oh my god, he's going. Like it's gonna be the end of the road for the Giants. Like someone said, if Keeper's gonna go, would somebody just lock the doors and throw away the keys on their way out? Like it's incredible what Summer Rumor Mill does. I absolutely love it.
Yeah,
like that EP transfers X account is just equal measure the finest form of entertainment, but also the biggest location for housery on Elite League social media. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I to be fair, I did see quite a few bits and pieces of like, oh, will he return? What does this mean if his number's been retired? Blah blah blah. But personally, I was like, it's really doubt. Like, I mean, he's settled here, his family's here. I didn't think it was going to be any other way apart from come back again for another season or two. So I mean, like he's a stalwart. He's not going to be going anywhere. The other main thing coming out of the Belfast Giants this offseason so far, and this is going back to last month, the end of last month, and that was obviously the CHL draw, which happened on the 21st of May. Which seen the Belfast Giants drawn in their CHL group stages. The Belfast Giants will be visiting Switzerland 3 times next season for the Champions Hockey League after the draw was made in Stockholm. Giants will be facing Lausanne, HC, SE Bern, and EZ Zug on the road in Europe's elite competition. All 3 of them coming from the Swiss League. At home, the Giants will then be playing Tampere, who have they played before, Kalpa Kuopio from Finland, and the Swiss side Brands. So yeah, that's kind of who we've got. That's the 6 teams the Giants will be going up against for the CHL. Obviously, the Giants narrowly missed out on advancing to the last 16 2 years ago. Sheffield Steelers obviously did go one better and did become the first Elite League team to reach that knockout stage, and that was last season. And this is obviously of the new format. Can't take away from the Panthers, and the final schedule and dates and face-off times will all be published still once things have been confirmed. I don't think that has happened just yet. I haven't checked, but I don't think it has. But I also was thinking today I didn't get any message yet about tickets for my for the season ticket packages. But anyway, that's a different story. Boys, I mean, CHL, there was the press, the conference part, obviously the press conference and the whole draw. Kiefer was interviewed and he kind of made it very clear what his ambitions were for the for the team this year, and also the fan vote was pretty much in the Belfast Giants' favor. Let's get your thoughts. I mean, is there anything there that was any of those teams that particularly tickled your fancy? Dave?
It's all going to be. I love the CHL. I know there's a lot of naysayers out there and whatnot, but I think it's a fantastic tournament. And yes, some of the other teams do suffer from not taking it just as seriously at the start, but see by the end, that turns into a proper trophy, and it is an absolutely beautiful trophy. Be one that in a few years, if the Giants continue to improve the way they've done, and if it's the things align, it'd be lovely to see in Belfast at some point. But you never know. At the minute, I don't think there's any reason why the Giants can't get through to the groups, get past the group stages, into the knockout, and then you just have to play it by ear once you get there. Like it's anyone's game, but it becomes a different ball game altogether. Can't wait to watch it, but I'll take it for what it is. It holds a special place, and it's in my heart. My media passes went walkies. First game as a official media was for a CHL game, so it always has a special place for me. And actually, where has that gone? Because it was hanging up here.
I've literally just packed mine away. Do you know what? I packed mine away yesterday. It used to hang right here because obviously
mine's normally right there.
My hockey stick normally hangs here, and it's off now. It's off the wall, and I just packed it away yesterday. But Marty, Sorry, I was clicking other stuff there. Not that I don't pay attention to you when we do the podcast. I absolutely do pay so much attention to you when we do the podcast. But were you saying you weren't sure of the schedule? Is that right?
Yes, I wasn't sure of the schedule. So the full schedule has
CHL schedule is out. So I'll give you the game days if you like.
Perfect.
So game day 1 is the 28th of August. That's a home game against Kalpa Kopo. However you say that, that's at the SSE. Game day 2 for the Giants is again a home game, 30th of August, and that's the game against Ilves Tampere. The game day 3 is the 5th of September. That is away to Lucerne. Game day 4 is the 7th of September, an away game to EV Zug. Game day 5 then is another away game because they're obviously playing all their away games basically in one trip, which is fantastic if you can afford to go. They'll play the 8th of October then at SC Bern before returning home for the last of the group stage games. Game day 6 is the 14th of October. And that is back in the SSE Arena. Look at that. The Champions Hockey League managed to get its...
there's a massive gap between those two first away games and the third one. You said they were quite close together. There's a big gap between those. One's in October, the other in September.
Right enough, but here, I'm just saying. Here, I didn't say it wasn't a massive gap there. I said if anyone can afford to stay, that's true, and it's absolutely right. If you can afford to stay over there for a month, then that's a fantastic opportunity. So don't shit on my parade.
I did see quite a few. I had a chat. We'll talk about it later on in the podcast. Dave will take us through the hospice event that took place there in the off season, and he'll take us through it later on. But I did get talking to a few friends who you don't usually get to see in the off season, which was really nice. But we were talking about the games away, and there's quite a few people already. We're talking about the fact they're all heading off to those double header set of games in September, and the different prices and stuff that have been batting around for how much it costs and stuff. So, interesting. I had
it's not the price of getting there; it's the price of staying there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the big problem.
Yeah. Just talking about obviously the CHL. Dave, you were talking there about you can't see why the Giants couldn't progress through. I would say that we could be like yeah, based on the team they've signed so far, they have a good chance. But the Giants are doing a 5 Flyers this season. In the fact that we are now at the end of June. And we know that they had obviously Adam Keefe's testimonial. They had the off-ice event, the hospice event as well at the start of June. But we're at the end of June, and so far I think there has only been maybe 4 players maximum that have been announced as being signed. We have Scott Conway, David Goodwin. We have JJ Pikinich, and today, as of going before this recording, Laker was announced as returning to the Belfast as a re-signing. No new signings.
Grand Slam line's back. It's all set, boys. The rest of the teams might just as well take the season off. Like Grand Slam's back.
If anything, we've heard more
if Goody's starting the season rather than parachuting in halfway through the season, everyone else can just go home. Like as soon as the other 9 teams in the league saw that, they might as well have just gone, great. Like, okay,
if anything,
let's just rebuild. Let's rebuild this season and see what we can do next year.
I was going to say, if anything, the Giants have announced more outgoing players than they have incoming players.
Well, have they? Because that's been a criticism. That's been a criticism because I think they haven't announced a lot of departures. Initially, they weren't really announcing it. They were leaving it to... And now, I specifically don't have a problem with this.
I don't either.
Other teams in other leagues announcing other players. Let's be totally honest. This is the Elite League. We have no right to re-sign anyone, be them an import or a Brit. Based on the position of this league, our expectations are way above our station. And yes, oftentimes our league does outperform where we probably should. The CHL is a prime example of that, with Nottingham and Sheffield doing as good as they have in that competition. And us, we've done very well in that competition too, and we expect that we probably will again this season. But look, people's expectations around signings and re-signings and departures, the Giants don't, and no team needs to sit there through their off-season and announcing who's not coming back.
No, I agree.
This specifically all came from, I think, the Max Stewart signing, going to Coventry.
Spoilers.
Look, it's a departure from Belfast, so it's not really a spoiler. But there was a lot of like, why wasn't this announced by the Giants? It was announced by Coventry. That's all that's important right now. Is Coventry announced that they signed a player? It doesn't matter that Mac has history in Belfast. It doesn't matter that his dad's an assistant coach and a Belfast Giants legend. Who cares? It's Mac, and it's Coventry's choice. It's Coventry's choice to sign him, and it's up to Coventry to announce that he's signed. The Giants don't need to. No team has to announce player departures. I'm sorry, it's just nonsense.
No, I agree. I 100%. I agree with you. Some do for whatever reason, and that's fine. But again, I don't think it's needed. I don't think it's necessarily needed.
Can you imagine if you're a lower end team who maybe had problems paying your players the previous season, and your start of your sort of announcements for the season was the laundry list of people who weren't coming back? What does that say for your PR? That's if you really like your team, you don't want them announcing departures.
The only time you should be acknowledging sort of departures is if someone's retiring. To let people know why they're not coming back and why they haven't signed anywhere else. Just like this person's retiring, and that's the only time you really should be announcing it. Like,
we're a season-to-season league. We're such a season-to-season league. Rosters can change massively. Now, we've seen a couple of teams, Belfast, Sheffield especially, not really changing year on year because of the success that they've had. But that's an oddity in this league. Most of the time, you get, 4, 5, maybe re-signings. The rest of the roster is completely different. So, for me, if you're one of these people on social media complaining and moaning at your team for not announcing departures, shut up and wait for the signing announcements. That's what you should be excited about.
Tell us how you really feel, John.
I can't. Would get blocked, and Marty would hate me because he'd have to beep everything.
Oh, fun. But yeah, that's
still
really
married to this idea that we're a family-friendly podcast.
Yeah.
All those kids that are staying up till 8 o'clock to listen to us live.
Maybe they listen to the podcast in the car on the way somewhere, on a Friday.
Not if their parents have anything to do with it. They don't.
Maybe their parents are listening to it.
Good for
Kids
them.
are in the back.
It's great education. And let's learn some swear language with Door 14 hockey.
And that's really it for the
My
Belfast
favourite one
Giants.
starts with the third letter of the alphabet.
Thanks, John. As I was trying to say, that's pretty much it for the Belfast Giants so far. That's the story so far this season. This off season, there's nothing really else. As I say, the players signings probably will come a bit more later on in the middle of the summer, and we'll probably by the time it comes to our next off season special and the first podcast season, we'll have a full idea of what those lineups look like. Dave, let's switch over to you next. I think we'll go with Cardiff. So you take us through main story and any kind of major signings and stuff going on there.
Yeah, so the big news coming out of, and it's sort of old news now as such for a lot of people, but the big news out of Cardiff is obviously their coaching changes with Tomo coming back to the Elite League, which is
Old Faithful.
a little bit uninspired, however, is solid hands for the league, and he's done pretty good things. He done really well with the Odessen Bulldogs in Odense, sorry, in Copenhagen. Done a fantastic job. Taking them to their championship, one of their first championships in quite a while. They were actually fairly close to where I was staying the last time I was in Copenhagen, where Gemma's family had been living for a while, and didn't know they had a team until I was going over the bridge to see Malmo play, and someone went to me, "Why didn't you just go down the road?" And I'm going, "What?" So it was definitely an interesting one. As I said, solid hands. He's done very well in his career. I would have liked to have maybe seen more fresh blood in the Elite League, especially for Cardiff, just given their bit of a revolving door of coaches at the minute. Pete Russell left, Lord left before that, and it's tricky whenever your coaches are changing all the time. If you're hoping to get somebody that's has the league connections, sometimes then you don't really get a massive amount of change. You end up with fairly similar teams. A fresh take, a bit like what we have, I think, which obviously John will talk about when he's talking about Fife, might have breathed fresh air into the squad, and made some interesting changes. Taking risks is maybe the best way to put it. I know Cardiff will want to finish high, and they've got this, the squad that they're currently in their way through re-signing, has a lot of guys who are returning, and are solid, but there's the element of that is they didn't do it last year, so they need a bit of a shake-up. I think we'll see a bit of that, maybe see a bit of European flair come into the team, but we'll have to watch this space. The team itself is shaping up pretty good. Not a whole rake of people re-signed so far. One that I was surprised with, I thought he might have decided to go for pastures new, was Ben Bounds, who obviously did the job for them this year or last year. But we did see Carruth depart, and sign somewhere. I can't remember off the top of my head where he signed to. I seen it on the socials last night. So that's him left the league after 2 or 3 seasons. So, but yeah, they'll shape up. I still have Cardiff are always a team that come true at the end. They always are solid, and I think you can never look too far past them. They proved that in the Continental Cup this year is phenomenal. So.
Mac Carruth moved to the Rouen Dragons. It's I think they're Italian or French.
Yeah,
I think
that's what it was. I seen that. That was, and I think that that'll.
I think that came as a shock to their fans.
Yeah, I think it did, because he had been very good last year, over the last 2 seasons. So,
but my question on that then is: are the Devils relying on Bounds again?
Right, start.
or do you think they go fishing for
Yeah, they'll go for
a
another.
starting import
Mm.
somewhere?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
will. They'll definitely go for another. They have to. Like it's this league.
So is Bouncy now back up
I
at
think
this
it'll
point in
No,
his
be.
career?
he's joint
Shared
number one.
starter.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll with the way this league is right now, you cannot have a single netminder do your 50 watt games.
No.
It's just not. It's not. Those days are gone.
Uh-huh.
And and even with the Giants, if we get Whistleback, I think we'll still also have a another import netty. Because you can't take that risk with just one. And then there's um, the games are just far too competitive. Then you end up with fatigue over that time. You need the ability to swap out. But yeah, it'll be watch this space with Cardiff. I think we're only seeing the start of that squad build. I think whenever we get closer to the start of the season, we'll see a team that will be challenging. Um, and as I said, solid hands with Tomo. I think we met him once at playoffs. Me and you, Marty, met him.
Yeah, we did.
Um,
We did. Yeah, we did.
it seemed like a nice enough fella, so it was good.
God, that was long. That was a long time ago.
It was. It was long before he even
And it was
thought
in
about
a
going to Europe.
That was in a certain chicken shop, if I remember correctly.
It was. Yep.
Yeah.
It'll remain unnamed. Unless they wish the sponsors. Yeah. But yeah, that's all I have for Cardiff. So
Perfect. John, we'll switch over to you. You have Coventry.
Yep, plenty of stuff happening out of Coventry. Plenty of very interesting signings actually coming out of Coventry as well over the last week or so. But starting through sort of the news of what's kind of been happening since the end of the season. We got into testimonial season, so that started with Dave Clements, who hit his 10 years and 500 games. So he got his testimonial back in May. May seems like almost years ago, even though it's only a couple of months ago at this point. So he got his testimonial, by all accounts, very, very successful. On the other side, we've got a legend leaving. Ross Venus announced his retirement as well in May, so a long-time servant to the club has now departed. However, I did mention in the shallow dive into Coventry that Kim Tallberg is remaining, so he'll remain as captain. So they've got a pair of steady hands at the wheel there, and that continues on. As far as signings, though, there's a couple of massive ones I want to talk about. First one being Max Stewart. Max Stewart signing his first top-level pro contract with the Coventry Blaze. That move, interestingly enough, it says it comes from the Belfast Giants, so I don't know if when you go to Elite Prospects, it shows him transferring from the Giants to the Blaze. I wonder if that's because that's where he was signed in this league, even though it was a two-way. But he comes from the NIHL, essentially, where he had a permanent contract up to his first full-time Elite contract is with the Coventry Blaze.
yeah, I think his contract was negotiated by the Giants. I think that's what it was. I think that's why it has that down. I think I read that somewhere on one of the other posts.
Yep. So, what do you guys think? His first sort of pro contract coming from there. He's obviously taken that move up from Milton Keynes, was where he was playing regularly. A team that we all love because of their history in the Elite League. We love the fans. I'm sure it was a great experience for Mac, and he's definitely developed as a player. We've seen that in his GB performances that he's put up as well. Don't actually know if he is. I don't think he was selected for this time round for the Worlds, was he? But I would assume that we're going to see that in the next season or two. He's probably going to take that step up to the senior team. But Coventry, a good fit for Max Stewart.
I mean, I'm not gonna pretend I'm not disappointed. I think part of me was kind of thinking when I kind of had heard kind of rumors that he was moving to a full-time contract this coming season. I think part of me was kind of like, oh, he's a Belfast boy. I want him in Belfast, playing in Belfast, because we do like to see a Belfast boy on the ice here, in the arena. And I part of me, the selfish part of me, really, really, really wanted him to come to Belfast. And actually, I think I had this conversation on X or somewhere where I was like, "Oh, come to Belfast," blah blah blah. And obviously the voice of reason, as always, Anthony from Banners, I completely understand where he was coming from. Like what role would he have, and also the ice time was going to be an issue. And I completely agree. For a young player of max caliber, he wouldn't have got the ice time that he deserves in Belfast. In Coventry, he's going there and he's probably going to get more ice time as a full blown Brit. And I think it's the right choice for him right now. I think he needs to cut his tooth, in the Elite League. Kind of get. I know he's played in the Elite League, so we kind of have an argument whether or not he's played in the Elite League. But let's not take it away from it. But
he's played, but he hasn't played regular
yeah,
minutes.
this is his first. This will be his first regular minutes, regular full season. Let him break. Let him cut his teeth somewhere, and then bring him. Activate him at the end of the season. As a sleeper cell at the end of the season. Especially when it's needed. Activate him as a sleeper cell at the end of the season when it's needed, and then bring him home to Belfast. Then
sign him for the last game to lift the trophy.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, I was more thinking of along the lines of Ben Lake. Have him beat a team and let us win the trophy.
Imagine we get to April and Max Stewart slots home a goal at the Sky Dome against the Sheffield Steelers in the last game of the season, and that's the win for Coventry, or the lack of points for Sheffield that wins it for the Belfast Giants. And we get Agent Stewart comes back to Belfast, a champion with his Giants jersey waiting for him for the open top bus parade that Belfast Giants clearly get when they win the league every year.
Eventually, we have to have one. Like at some point, they'll just have to do it. Take the plunge.
Or about 26 different phonocabs with sunroofs with the guys standing up and then all throwing the trophy back down the line to each other. Guys, there's one other signing for Coventry that I want to mention. And yes, people out there, if there's Coventry fans watching this, they'll say, "Oh, you're just talking about the ones that impact Belfast." But Grant Mismatch taking the decision just today to move across to Coventry from Belfast. That's an interesting one. I don't think he had the impact in Belfast that people expected he would do. That does not mean to say that I think he wasn't good. I think he was good. I think he did his job. I think he was good. I think Coventry is another great shift for Mismatch. I think he'll do. I think he will be indispensable in Coventry, whereas I think he maybe got lost amongst the talent that we have in Belfast.
Yeah, I do think it is a real opportunity in Coventry to be a star, and that'll be because he was a sort of clinch player for us at times. He won us games, like random coast to coast goals a couple of times in the season. He came in clutch in a few games, and I think that sort of player will do better in Coventry. I think he'll be just more critical to their game, where a lot of our plays came off the back of very long, protracted set pieces. I think Mismatch has got a lot of style to his game. He's definitely interesting to watch. I just didn't think he fitted quite into Kiefer's systems.
Yep. And just one other piece of news for Coventry. They have announced their pre-season fixtures as well. They will face a variety of opponents, actually, which is quite nice to see. Although one of these teams, I suspect, we will probably see crop up at some other Elite League teams as well. So Coventry will kick off their pre-season on the 29th of August against the Milton Keynes Lightning at the Sky Dome. They will then face the Tilburg Trappers on the 31st of August at home. That being the club that I suspect will probably travel over here and play more than 2 or 3 games against either NIHL or Elite League opponents. On Saturday the 6th of September, the Blaze will head to Nottingham to face the Panthers at the Motorpoint, and on Sunday the 7th, they will head down to Surrey to play the Guildford Flames in a friendly at the... they won't go to Surrey at all. They'll come back to the Sky Dome. I apologise. The Flames are going to take the trip all the way up to Coventry to face the Blaze, and that's on Sunday the 7th, as I said. So that's it for Coventry.
Great. Let's take a look up at the top of north of the country, and let's take a look at the furthest team up north, and that is the Dundee Stars. The Dundee Stars, I think probably their main story coming out so far this off season is the fact that they, after a 3-year deal with Trademark, known as the Trademark Dundee Stars, the Dundee Stars will have a new title sponsor this coming season, and they will be known from this season moving forward as MKM Building Supplies Dundee Stars. Has signed a
Rolls off
multi-year.
the tongue.
It
Rolls
does.
off the tongue, so it does. It just sounds right.
They have signed a multi-year agreement to become the title sponsor, and I think that is work. I think that's through until at least 2027, 2028. I think I read somewhere.
Is it three? I think it's a 3-year deal.
The question is, will obviously it's going to be MKM above the Dundee Stars logo as the press release had shown. When it comes to the brand on the Stars jerseys, as we have known in the past, as we're big fans of jerseys on this show, we always comment about the fact that the trademarked logo was always like a really sore thumb, standing out so badly on any jersey that the Dundee Stars created. Is this MKM logo going to be any better looking on the Stars jerseys moving forward? John, any thoughts?
I mean, there's yellow in it again, so that just tells you straight away when a club's main colours are red and really dark navy with a bit of white, yellow's just going to show up as if they're wearing high vis. So, like, I really hope they do something. If I was MKM and I wanted to stand out amongst it, I would be saying, look, yes, we have a brand to protect. Yes, we have our colour scheme. Let's take the colour out of our logo. Let's go all white. They've got MKM, the 3 letters. M, the 2 M's are yellow, the K is white. Be careful about how you say that. As long as there's not 2 more K's in there in the middle. The yellow, I think, just needs to be taken out completely. And I think with the Dundee Stars logo, because it's on their navy jersey, it's so white with a little bit of red around it. And then when they do the star, it's the same. It's very bright white. If MKM were to agree to have their logo be whited out, I think that would be brilliant. And I think the brand would still be there. It would still be visible. But yeah, please don't put that yellow on absolutely everything again. The only thing I will say is the logo doesn't seem to have this big block box around it like Trademark did. So maybe that's the saving grace. I don't know. It's my favourite time of year is when we start seeing the regular season jerseys coming out. So hopefully we'll have a few for the pre-season second podcast sometime in August. We might only have pre-season jerseys, but they usually give us a good idea of what we're going to see from the regular season stuff.
Yeah.
It sort of reminds me a bit of, remember, was it what was the call center we had?
LBM.
LBM.
Remember the jersey that they had to start was this massive LBM logo that was above the jersey.
That was like a history thing in Belfast where the title sponsor got bigger and bigger and Finn got smaller and smaller. And then when we did the Kukri agreement, that went the other way. Finn got bigger again. And then obviously
the
with the
LBM
rebrand,
one, because of the backlash, they changed that jersey mid-season and took away and went to just the letters. And they just whited them out, and it worked a lot better. And I think that if they do something similar, I think it'll do wonders. It'll reinforce the Stars brand identity, and they could probably come to some sort of agreement where they could maybe put the logo in color somewhere else on the jersey as well, double it up, have it on the front, and then maybe put it on the shoulder or something in full color, and then that might be enough to satisfy that brand recognition for the company. And then the flip side of that is you're going to hear their name every single time something happens, and sometimes that's more important than the actual logo on the jersey. I know that
with that argument, I can't wait to see the non-branded Stenlane Belfast Giants jerseys that are going to come out this season.
Yeah. Well, we have seen the sublimated ones though, where they've taken all the color out of their logo and stuff. So it has happened, but they'll never take them off completely. But if they do, that I think that's the difference between having a sponsor who's a partner and a sponsor who's just paying to have their logo on it. The Stanley Line's been knocking about with the Giants for so long now. It would be weird not seeing it.
We will come back. I kind of want to make sure we just fitted jerseys into the podcast in some way. That's why the brand the title sponsor was a really perfect way to discuss that. But we'll come back. I think Glasgow are the only team so far who have released jerseys for their preseason games. So we'll come back to the jerseys later on in the podcast. Boys, just before we move on from Dundee, just a quick look just at some of their signings, re-signings, and also departures. I think the main one obviously is Ben O'Connor, friend of the show, Ben O'Connor. After one season with the Dundee Stars, has officially left Dundee and I believe has signed in the NIHL, I believe, with the Swindon Wildcats.
Swindon Wildcats. Yep, gets him closer to
Yes.
home.
Yeah, so he's moved on, and I think I think when you guys spoke to him back whenever he was in the Guildford days, I think he had clearly said back then that he struggled a wee bit with the whole having to do so much traveling and being away from home and from the family.
From when he was playing in Guildford, he wasn't staying in Guildford. He was
Yeah,
travelling back home. So I don't know whether some nights he maybe bedded down with some of the other guys in the rented accommodation. He maybe had a bed that he could use. But generally speaking, he's got a young family as well, so I can understand it. And he was doing a lot of travel so that he could spend time with the kids as well, and with his partner. So totally understand. It's something that's, I think, it's becoming more prevalent in the Brits, is this acceptance that the NIHL is possibly enough for them. And now that I think is coming from the level of worth that they're getting, because we've obviously seen import levels change last season again for the Elite League. This lean, I'm not saying we're getting to Super League, but we're damn close to it again. I would not be surprised in the next 5 years to hear no limitations. You can have a fully import roster again. Uh, we've got the evidence, we've got the history that that doesn't work in this country. Now, let's wait and see. Maybe there's a better financial model, but I don't think there is right now, because this is a league that can't hold on to a title sponsor. So if you can't hold on to a title sponsor, how do you maintain the finances to have a completely import roster? And it does nothing for the British game. Now, we've had all the announcements that have come out and said, not that the Elite League is a development league, but that the Elite League understands its position within the development of British talent. That goes counter to what we've seen with import rosters, but we've got the likes of Ben O'Connor, Davy Phillips, and a number of others choosing to make the NIHL their home for playing. Some of these guys are still making the national squad, so clearly there is not the need necessarily to play in the Elite League to make the GB setup. So that's showing now that there is potentially a crisis coming in British players within the Elite League in particular.
The the piece you were saying there about the league not being a development league, it's definitely a team centric idea. Because you seen last season with the Giants willing to spend money on two ways, but limited their activation, and that does nothing but just improve the game. That's giving money to players to ensure that they're getting the development they need. And we've seen it with two players stepping up into the Elite League.
But that,
Um,
to me, that pales in comparison with what Sheffield are doing. Like, and I hate to
yeah,
be the
but that's
person
a,
to praise the
it's a, it,
Steelers, but
but that's a different argument. The Giants wouldn't
yeah.
even have that opportunity if it was available because of the where the location. An NIHL team would not work in Northern Ireland, and therefore there's no point in the Giants owning
But
one.
we did seem to have in the very early days something going on with Solway, and that seems to have gone by the wayside a little bit. It
Well,
seems
there's
to be a
still a bit.
player by player. Well, no, it seems to be a player by player basis now, and
Yeah, yeah.
from a couple of different NIHL teams, which is great. It's great to sow our oats, so to speak, across a couple of different NIHL teams. Yes, I said that. Um, but I'd really like to see stronger links going on, because I genuinely see that's the way to grow the game. It's the way to grow the
The
Brits within the
the
game as
issue with
well,
that,
is to have those strong ties.
the issue
Belfast
with
is in a different position. I
yeah.
get that, but maybe the talk of Dublin, maybe that changes things.
So the problem with having the closer ties, say for a team in the NIHL from Belfast, is that there's a high likelihood that they would be investing in a club and players that will not come to Belfast, that they would go to other English clubs, and there's
But
an
that's the
element
risk
of
for every club.
there is that, but the likes of if you're in the same city as the club that you are heavily invested in, there's a Saturday night you can say, right, you can have a regular shift tonight. Come on up, play. We
But
don't have that.
that goes counter. I'll counter that with the likes of Stephen Murphy. Like Stephen Murphy went through the Dundee and Fife programs, could have played his entire career and could have played regularly, got a start and shift in either of those organisations through the Super League, through the Elite League, through the back end of the BNL, probably even when they were really young, when he was really young. But the team of Belfast saw an opportunity there to bring in what they saw as high quality Brit in, but
Stephen Murphy came via Edinburgh, Manchester, then the Giants. So we didn't pick him up from a youth team or a development team. He came from another professional team.
But imagine having the ties with the juniors in a much stronger way. I'm not arguing that you're clearly right, because that is the route that he took through, but having those stronger ties gives you that pathway. And if we don't get that pathway, and if it's not made clear, I think it's unavoidable. I think Sheffield have set the bar. I think it's completely unavoidable now.
The only thing it would be is if there's a decision to make the NIHL and national team, the National League, and not an English league.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that won't happen until the SIH and the English.
But that's what I mean.
EIH decide to amalgamate again, which it used to be. If you'd listened to my shallow dive on the SNL, you'd know that.
But it's also the fact that nobody acknowledges the fact that the Irish Ice Hockey Association exists as well.
True, but they don't have any rinks.
Well, they will. Well, they have 2, 3, because
we hope.
Both the ones in Belfast are under there.
Marty's head's going to explode if we don't move on to the next team.
I was just saying this could be a full podcast all on its own, but we are literally only on Dundee and we need to move on. So, boys, let's move on to Fife Flyers. And John, you haven't got a chance to rest your voice there, but let's move on to Fife. I think some of the big stories so far of this offseason are coming from Fife.
Yep, big moves. Obviously, I think the last podcast of the season, we knew the ownership change was on the horizon for the club. Now we know it is and has happened. North American outfit have come and bought the club from the previous owners and have installed Max Berbrier, formerly of the Cardiff Devils, as GM, along with a number of other roles that he will undertake for the club as well. Some really interesting off-ice decisions being made in Fife as well, which are really, really good to see. No, they haven't said they're going to repair the car park yet. That's not what I'm talking about. They've brought in Gareth Chalmers, previously of the Glasgow Clan, who, yes, had his little skirmish with controversy through that club, but he's been brought in as Director of Hockey Operations. Stephen Wishart. Now, Stephen Wishart, for those of you that don't know, is the head coach of the Kirkcaldy Kestrels. He has been brought in alongside those duties to the Fife Flyers to act as Director of Player Development. So again, what I was talking about there, we now have the strong ties between the SNL team, the Kirkcaldy Kestrels, who are very, 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 very good in that league, have won multiple trophies over the last few seasons, also have the hottest jerseys in that league as well. That Flying Eagle crest is just sexy. But he's been brought in, and that will see a development path all the way from the juniors in Kirkcaldy Ice Hockey Club right the way through to the Kestrels and to the Flyers. So this new ownership group really, really get it. They've also brought in Jamie Russell, Canadian Jamie Russell, into the squad as head coach. Jamie arrives from Europe, having undertaken a number of jobs over there in the Alps League and in Slovakia. Previous to that, he'd coached completely in North America. He'd spent 6 years in the ECHL, and get this, 20 years in the NCAA. Yeah. Those are connections. Now, I know we said it before with the previous coach, with Tom Cullen. He had connections, but I don't think he had the backing of the owners to really do what he could do with his connections. With this North American outfit, it remains to be seen what we'll get from that. However, some signings have been fantastic so far. Mason Alderson, who we knew from Belfast, he was on a two-way with Solway. He's signed a full-time contract with the Fife Flyers, which is just absolutely incredible. That one signing has repaired a lot of the problems that came from the previous season with Tom Coolan. I don't want to say ignoring the Brits, but really didn't make any efforts to go and look for the up and coming Brits. That's fantastic. Now, on the other side, they have lost Brody Kay. Dave, you kind of alluded to that signing. Brody has been a servant for a couple of years for Fife, well known, well liked there. Cardiff have come asking, and I know in the background conversations were going on to try and keep Brody in Fife, but timing wise, Cardiff got in there first. There was the ownership change, and Brody made that call to go to Cardiff. To be honest, I think that's going to be fantastic for his game. I would love to maybe see him come back eventually to Fife, but honestly, if he makes himself indispensable as a top end Brit down there through the development that he's going to get with Tomo coming in there, I think that's going to be absolutely fantastic. And that is a classic Tomo signing as well. Young Brit, he's seen the talent, he's seen the opportunity, he wants to bring him in. That's the best place for Brody to be right now, is to be coached by Tomo. Couple of big import signings staying with Fife. Shane Owen returns as netminder. Probably still to be seen whether he's going to be sort of number one to a potential number two Brit or potentially another import. I've had it said to me from a few people here in Fife that the owners are looking for a dual import for Fife, so that's interesting. That probably means that there's a bit of cash to put into this team, which is really, really nice to see. And Jonas Emmerdahl will also be returning to the Fife Flyers. He's been fantastic. I don't want to leave out the only other confirmed signing, which is local lad Ben Brown. He returns to Fife, having played last season in Dundee.
With the coach with that huge NCAA history, it is the opportunity there to make massive impact, especially with, as you said, the links now, direct links with the Kestrels and guys that are slightly less mature.
I want to come in on that. So Anthony from Banners has put in the best place for him to be has got to be on the ice. It is. I genuinely believe from the conversations I've had that he is going because he is being told he will get ice time. So that, combined with Tomo, with what we know Tomo can do for young British talent, Anthony, I genuinely believe we're going to see a big jump in Brody's minutes. And yes, he will make mistakes. He will be coached through those. I think this could be the making of his game. He is a talent. He is one to watch over the next few seasons. I guarantee it.
Yeah, 100%. To be honest, we say this every year. I know we do say this every year, because I think parts of us all have a little soft spot for Fife. And I think last year we were hoping that with all of those signings initially from Coolan last year, in terms of like those Lithuanian guys and stuff, we're like, oh, they look like they know what they're doing.
Experiment.
Yeah, we thought, you know what, this looks pretty cool. We're quite excited about it all. And then obviously what happened. I want to believe, and I really want this to work for Fife this year. I really, really do. Every ounce of me wants to work.
I know I've talked about, I'm trying to get the 10 teams in the Elite League to come on the podcast. For those reasons that you've just said, Fife are, and I know they're just down the road. I know I could go knock on the door. As soon as Max lands in the country, I think I'm going to go stand at the doors to Fife Ice Arena to beg for somebody to come on the podcast. But that's why I want them to come on, because I want someone from the management side to come on to tell us why Fife fans should be excited. The material that's going out to the fans is another level again. I think we saw it step up a couple of seasons ago, knowing the folks that were running the comms. I don't know if it's the same guys, but again, a lot of this is coming from management, and that was what was missing before, was the interaction from management. Now, granted, they've only got 4 players. Everyone else is off ice, so clearly the messages are coming from the backroom staff, which is fantastic. That's what's been missing. So this is my call out during this podcast to the Fife Flyers. Come on the podcast. Come and chat to us. Come on, whether it's the off-season special that we've got in August. You want more season ticket holders? come and talk to us. The fans will come. We've had Fife players on here. Fife fans come in their droves to the podcast. So come on, tell Fife fans why they should be excited about next season.
Yeah. Let's move on and let's round off the Scottish teams. Dave, let's go with you and take a look across in Glasgow.
Yeah, so over to Glasgow. We're obviously not fans, so we have to say that, don't we? We're not
Yeah.
fans of Glasgow. Is that still the
Yeah.
case? Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. We're not fans.
So they have announced their pre-season jersey, and has anybody seen it? Can I share my screen? How do I do that?
10 years we've been doing this podcast, and he still asks how do I share my screen. He also works in IT.
Oh, well, I also work in IT and I can't work TikTok.
No, I just think you're old and you refuse to try.
Yep. I'm old. But we said that at the start. I'm old. Hold on.
It's
but
great
yes.
radio.
Great radio.
Let's talk between ourselves.
Yes.
It could also be that the fact that he works in a certain industry where he kind of maybe has inside knowledge. He's like, TikTok's bad. Sorry,
It's bad, really bad.
really bad.
Look,
Real bad.
Chinese Secret Service can have all of my videos if they want. They're all nonsense.
So
There we go.
here we
Hey.
go. So they have announced their pre-season jersey, and I don't like the home purple one. I do like the white one though. I like the fact that they made the thistle tartan. I think that the purple tartan is nice, and it's something they don't use. They don't use it very well. They use it a lot, but they don't use it very well. And I think that they've made a go of it, and it looks, in my opinion, pretty good. It is what it is. They're trying to be as Scottish as they can be with their purple saltire and their thistle and Mel Gibson. They do a great.
See my problem with this. When this came out, I don't think I messaged you guys, but it really bugged me, and I sat and looked at this page, like this picture, for a good 10 minutes, and I tried to read through the story piece to see if there was a reason behind it. See the top of the thistle? Why is it 4 V's?
Oh, why? That's all I can see now.
It
Cheers.
really bugs me. Like that's not what a thistle looks like.
Yeah, and it's also
Yeah.
because obviously the thistle, they've put the hockey sticks in the thistle leaves.
That's
there's
fine as a
Yeah,
style choice.
so-
That's fine.
But that
The
but
4
that
V's
means that
I don't understand it.
yeah. So that means that those 4 V's are a style choice. They've decided to put those in. I don't know what they are.
I don't get it. Now, hopefully, this isn't more clip art that they've just stolen, because yes, we know that they did that before. No, they did not put out a statement about it, but everyone knows it. I think we're pretty much just humped right there having Glasgow on the podcast next season, but there you go. But it's all right. They probably weren't coming on anyway.
It's 'cause, it's 'cause they think
I
we're
still consistently struggle with their graphic design. Like I've said it before, I think one of the weakest is Belfast. I genuinely do. I think we have some of the most uninspired jerseys out there. But Glasgow continue to find ways to surprise me with how bad they can be.
As
Wow.
This is
well
not
say,
terrible, but it's still not great.
the Giants don't break the mold with their jerseys. They're fairly safe. They do what they do. Glasgow take risks and they never really pay off. I think that's the thing.
It's like their entire elite league career in a
Yes.
jersey, in a series of jerseys, is should be good, isn't.
Yeah, and as I said, I quite like the white one. I like the tartan. But what's with their that Warrior tournament logo thing?
Yep.
Why is that not on off to the side,
Why is it not on an arm?
or not in an arm, or but dead center, cutting in to their thistle? What it looks
But
like they just went.
I wonder if there's a tournament agreement or something. I wonder if all the teams taking part will maybe have that,
Possibly,
and that's something that they have to do. If it's not, and Glasgow chose to do that, it's yet another graphic design failure. So it will be interesting. Like maybe between now and the next one, I say I'm going to have a look at the other teams if they've released a special jersey. I absolutely want. There will be no follow up on this. If you're listening to this expecting the next off-season special for me to talk about the other teams attending this tournament and their jerseys and whether this happens or not, it won't happen. Let's just be totally honest.
Can I just, before we move on to the next team, can I just come back to a comment you made there, John? And I know it's not a Glasgow comment, it's a Belfast comment, because I want to say something. I want to kind of just comment on something you said about the Giants there. You said about how, obviously the designs of their jerseys are, what was the phrase you used? That they're uninspiring, I think it was the phrase that you used for, yeah. I think I think it's very. I don't think it's very fair because I think the Belfast Giants try to be a bit bold and a bit ambitious with some of the jerseys they design, to the point where people go, "What are you doing?" So I don't think it's fair to say that they're, because they do, like, if you think about the special jerseys they've designed over the last 2 years. If we look at the Oktoberfest ones, which I know people will, but like they were bold.
The country ones.
The cowboy ones, the country ones, they are bold. People
There's
commented about.
being bold and there's being nice. I'm sorry. I'm Marty. The point is, you and me are never gonna agree on this because
No,
we
you're
have
right. We're never.
fundamentally different opinions
Oh,
on what's
100%.
good.
100%.
Like we've established this over 10 years of this podcast and
Yeah,
15 years of being friends and going to hockey, that we really do have opposite ideas of what is a nice jersey. Like I tend to really like the classics, the clean lines, and all that. There are one or two specials that I really like. I think Belfast has produced some of the best Pride jerseys. Um, when they're trying hard to, they can do really good, and they can do really. But it's when it's simple, when it's all the mental stuff that they're doing, I really don't like it. And that's before we start talking about the merch itself. Like when you look at the merch side, jerseys is one thing, merch is another. And like I've said it for years on here, it's not a big splash or anything. The merch is like par,
Yeah.
possibly
Yeah.
subpar.
I really do
Again,
like the Giants.
not as bad as Glasgow's summer sale.
I like the Giants jerseys for the most part, but I do totally agree about the merch. The merch has been subpar for quite some time. So
Yeah.
I think this Anthony sums it up for me. Issue in Belfast is their attempt to be innovative, and it became kitsch. It wasn't innovative, and yeah, as always, Anthony says it better than I could.
That's all I have from Glasgow. They've only got 2 players signed. Obviously, they're playing their preseason against Har. I had that open there 2 seconds ago. Harvard Hawks, is it? And the Harleval Hawks and the Marseille. I'm not pronouncing their full thing. So in their European tournament. So all power to them. It's a club that has, again, as we mentioned, has a bunch of potential, given who their owners are, and the opportunity to sort of stretch. And it'd be nice to see them do that. It just hasn't come to that over the last few seasons. So.
Yep. Perfect. Let's continue in alphabetical order and look down more southern of the country and headed towards Guildford. So Guildford Flames, no real major news coming out of Guildford. There's been no real press releases, nothing of note in terms of any changes in terms of coaching, no sponsorship information, nothing about preseason games, nothing so far as of date. So the only thing we can really focus on in relation to Guildford at this stage is having a quick look at some of the signings that are going on there and some of the departures. I suppose the most recent being the player with probably the most fun name in the Ice Hockey League up until this season, Mike Crowcock. You have to say that in a very specific way. It was announced there this week as moving on. No one team there. And Eamon McAdam as well was announced. Leaving Guildford this season too. Of note, I guess, looking at some of the re-signings, I guess we could look at first some of the re-signings. Not surprising, there are some Josh Waller, Lewis Hook, Kabinski, Alvaro, Travis Brown returning for the second season with Guildford. Adam Long, Jake Kugler.
Marty, just
Sprang.
let you know you've gone very quiet and a little bit hissy on
Okay.
our side.
Let's see. Give me a second.
Anthony's
better?
in the comments telling us. Yeah, it's a bit clearer now. Still a little
Cool.
bit hissy, but it's fine.
Cool. Cool, cool. And then obviously new signing wise, probably the ones of note, probably Josh Nixon coming in, Tyler Bush coming in, Cole Uli from Glasgow coming down to Guildford, and Guildford the announcements as being signing into Guildford this season. Boys, as I say, not really much coming out of Guildford just yet. Anything there, players wise, taking your notes, taking anything that's caught your attention?
Travis Brown and Charlie Curdy. I think Curdy taking a jump back across, I think is interesting. And yes, everyone's talking about stuff that affects Belfast. But still, I think Travis Brown, especially to me, has made a place for himself in Guildford. I think he was fantastic for them. And again, I think he just got lost amongst the talent. But in Guildford, I think he's made himself indispensable, and I think he's done really well. Anthony, I see your comment that they've announced pre-season, and I'm looking at the website, I'm looking at the news, and I can't see anything. So if they have, apologies. Maybe they've put it out in their socials, but not on their news on their website.
Yeah, there's definitely no official news anywhere on Guildford's own website under their news section for any pre-season games.
Continue talking and let me check their socials.
Yeah, it could be on the socials. We just don't have access. I don't have access to the socials, and we don't usually use the socials too often for our stories. To be fair, we usually use the channels that they put out through either the press releases or via their own websites or through their league websites. So if it is on their socials, then we haven't picked up on that. So apologies for that. There you go. Anthony's put it up there. So it is on the socials. Coventry, Cardiff, and Anies. It'd be nice if they put it on their website and also in the press releases, but whatever. Okay. Let's move on.
We'll have to get back over to the leisure centre to see them again.
Whoa! Sorry, hang on. Let's talk about the biggest one. And now Anthony's just ruined it there because we didn't do it. I'm just going through their socials now. Admittedly, I have pretty much turned off the socials. Anthony has officially been signed as live stream announcer for next season for the Guildford Flames as a regular gig, rather than just the come and go that he was doing. Anthony, sorry mate, we should have led with that. We should have had Guildford at the top of the running order. The alphabetical be damned. So there you go. Anthony announced as the live stream announcer for the Guildford Flames next season. Well done, mate.
Wow, Good job.
They are our favourite Southern English club. we do have a soft spot. They are the first to answer an email or a question or a query all times.
Not a TikTok. They haven't answered the TikToks yet, but I realised
to be fair,
they're not active on TikTok.
Yeah, I was
they're about as old as I am. So pick up the phone. That's the only way you're gonna get them.
Fax them, maybe send them a fax.
Fax them. Yeah. That's how you get me. You can send me a fax.
That'd be the slowest live stream interview ever if I was faxing things through. Can you imagine? The 14-hour 14 with 14.
Oh, hilarious.
Just turned up to the rink. They were brilliant that day. We just turned up.
You think we just turned up? I'm sorry, mate. You have no idea the emails I sent to organise that.
Lies.
Let's move our attention to Manchester. And I think, John, you've got Manchester.
Oh, so I do. Sorry, I was drinking water. Just so everyone's very clear on that. Yes, biggest news out of Manchester is that Cam Critchlow, former captain, has been announced as head coach going forward for the Manchester Storm. Critch announced his retirement at the end of last season, and he said that the organisation's been his home for the last several years. He's committed to building on the strong foundations and striving for excellence both on and off the ice. Someone has clearly been coaching him in coaching language, because that sounds like a seasoned coach right there. A couple of big signings out of them so far. They have re-signed Evan Weniger in the netminder position, which I think is pretty good for them. I think he was reasonably good. I think he still holds team records in save percentage and goal against average. So that's a great re-signing for them. Chase Harrison has returned for a fourth stint with the club as well. And I'm trying to look and see what the rest of their Kyle Locke also remaining with them as well. So I think they've only announced one or two new signings. One of them being Ryan Hughes, who arrives from the Rodovre Mighty Bulls. So yeah, interesting times. They've got a slightly bigger roster than some of the other teams so far, but definitely Critch coming in as head coach. I think he's well known, he's well respected there, and Manchester has a history of sort of bringing in those respected individuals from within to take up those positions. So I think that's probably a really, really good move for them.
100%. What have we got next? Dave, back
You got
to
me in Nottingham.
you. Nottingham.
Nottingham, yep. So the big news out of Nottingham is there's a lot of re-engagement with their sponsors. A lot of uptake on their news is about re-signing new agreements, title sponsors, different jersey sponsors, and ice sponsors, which is really good to see. As if this massive influx of potential money, but that comes along with the Continental Cup draw, and them coming in at the second stage alongside teams like Katowice, which we know very well in Belfast. I think that they're definitely in for a shout of doing really well in that tournament, based on how well they ended last season, and the re-signing of Grande again for another year, who John's fairly familiar with how fantastic he is. You did a thing recently, didn't you, with them? Surprising how much information.
I did a shallow dive, so I want to give props to Nottingham for this one. So Nottingham dropped into the comments on one of the videos on TikTok and were like, do a video on Jason Grande and we'll lock in an interview for next season. So do you know what? Within 24 hours, they got a dive into the career of Jason Grande. So that's what they got, and they've followed through. They've agreed. They've committed to next season. So well done.
On the little bit of investigative journalism I did for you to help you out, it is surprising what you can find out about people on the internet. I found his parents' maiden names and his brother's names and where he went to high school. It's unbelievable. So yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, he's a stellar player, and you all know I love watching a good netminder, and he just seemed to have the right stuff, and I think he's going to do a fantastic job for them. I think they're going to be one of the teams to watch, because we've seen this solid year-on-year improvement from them, and I think next season they'll be out with something to prove, and I think they'll be good to watch, as much as it pains me to say.
100%. They're going to want to, obviously they had the playoff championship. Nottingham won the playoffs this past season. They're going to want to do the league title because it's the one that they have been aiming for a number of years now. And they were strong last season, and I think they're going to want to come back this season coming as strong as they ended the last one.
Yeah,
that second half of the season from them was, I think, the standout performance of any
100%.
team. Without the start that Sheffield and Belfast had in the first half of the season, I genuinely, because it went down to, was it the second last weekend was when Nottingham were finally put out, and it was down to the final two for the league?
No, it was the second to last game.
Second last game against Belfast, that's right.
Yeah. If they had won that, then they had won the next, and Sheffield had lost a point.
And Sheffield had to lose both over that weekend, didn't it? So Nottingham had to win 2, Sheffield had to lose 2, and Nottingham still would have got it. Without, like I say, 1 or 2 results either way, they were still in with a shout of it. So the fact that they've re-signed Grande, Dave, I kind of agree with you. I think he was the hot netminder when he arrived in January.
Yeah, just after
I didn't
Christmas,
just do a video all about him.
I think he came in just after Christmas.
Yeah, just absolutely insane. So him getting a full season, that's going to be nuts to watch.
Yeah.
It'll definitely be one to keep an eye on. Dan Stewart's done a fantastic job with that club.
He has. And just last one, just to say thank you to the Nottingham Panthers for agreeing to come onto the podcast in the 2025-26 season. So you've got it here, you're listening. If there's a player in particular that you want us to ask for, now obviously if they sign a number 14, we will probably go after that number 14. Failing that, top of my list probably right now is Grande. But if you're a Nottingham fan and there's a particular player that you want to see on the podcast, let us know and we'll see what we can do. I think Nottingham are good sports for it. We may get more than one interview out of Nottingham this season.
Yep, hopefully. Let's move on to the last team in the Elite League, and that is the Sheffield Steelers. A couple of stories, but obviously the biggest story of the offseason so far is, well, here's the question. Their commitment of coming on to the podcast this coming season. Although the statement said, and it was put out, and it said, if Watling returns for the next season, then guaranteed a podcast. It did say, did it not?
It said if Watling re-signed, they would guarantee him, but they are guaranteed on the podcast this season. An individual well known across the Elite League slid into my DMs. I never expected that, but there we are. So once again, we have to say it. They were the first. They saw the opportunity of coming on to the Door 14 Hockey Podcast. They jumped on it, which is incredible for a club that have never even responded to one of our emails. But we are incredibly happy to have the Sheffield Steelers coming on the podcast next season. And again, the ask is the same. Obviously, right now, they don't have a number 14 with Patrick Watling announcing his retirement just last week. So if through the course of the off-season that there's a signing or there's an existing player who is re-signed that you would love to see on the podcast, then let's have them. Emma has just commented on Facebook. Emma, you've been following along on TikTok, so thank you for joining the live stream tonight as well. You're absolutely right. Jordan Kelsall is their number 14. We have had Jordan on the podcast previously. I completely forgot that he was number 14, but yes, we've had Jordan on before. We could have him on again, but let's see. But as far as Sheffield goes, same ask of the fans. If there's someone that you see signed or re-signed that you absolutely, definitely want to have on the podcast, maybe it's someone from the coaching staff that you want to have on, let us know. We will do our best.
Yeah. Sticking with news of departures from the Sheffield Steelers, probably, I know there's a list of departures and returnees and blah, 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 but I think this one made a bit of it's definitely a fan favourite, making the decision to leave the Sheffield Steelers for European leagues further afield, and that is obviously Marco Vallerand. He made his announcement that he'd be leaving the Sheffield Steelers. They're in about a week ago, maybe not even. Yeah, about a week ago, he made his announcement to say that he'd be leaving the Sheffield Steelers for pastures new, and he did put a letter out to the fans, quite an emotional letter that he put out to the fans to say about how much he had enjoyed playing in Sheffield. So that will be a big loss for them and the fans there, because I know he was a big fan favourite in Sheffield. Two other main things. One is similar to the Dundee Stars, the Sheffield Steelers this season moving forward will have a new title sponsor, and that will be a joint title sponsor for both the Sheffield Steelers and the Sheffield Steel Dogs, and that will be the Trigger Hub Sheffield Steelers and the Trigger Hub Sheffield Steel Dogs. So that they are doing a double title sponsorship, and that will take you up to 2028. So that deal will cover for both of those up until that date. So it will be the Trigger Hub Sheffield Steelers. They did put out a jersey that had the Trigger Hub logo above it, but I think it was just a one-off made jersey just to kind of show the new branding. I don't think that's anything to do with actually what the new jersey will look like moving into the next season. And speaking of jersey launches and moving into the next season, the Sheffield Steelers are the first team so far to announce the shirt launch and meet players night. They have confirmed that for the 5th of September in Utility Arena. Yeah. That will be the same as last year. It'll be a shirt launch, music, player introductions, blah blah blah. It'll be a joint event with the Steel Dogs and the Steelers. Steel Dogs will be going up first, I think, kicking off the thing at 6:00, and the Sheffield Steelers then will be on at 7. No, Steel Dogs at 7, Steelers then will be on at 7:45 approximate times. I think there'll be more information being given about tickets and blah 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 in the coming weeks. But they're the first ones to announce their shirt launch. Apart from that, as I mentioned, only other things really from the Sheffield are obviously the signings and the departures. Anything of note, I suppose, coming in, we've got Ryan Tate coming in, we've got Liam Steele on a two-way, we've got Jordan Southorn, I think was one of the most recent ones that they announced. A couple of re-signings, Cole Shudra, not a surprise, Kevin Tansey, Sam Tembley, Matt Greenfield, again back as goaltending. That's really it for a rundown of Sheffield so far. And there's more, but I just thought they were key ones just to kind of mention as of this stage. As I mentioned,
They have a lot of re-signings.
They do.
Coming through. Obviously, keeping Greener. That's been massive. There's no doubt he was fantastic through most of the season. I think it's probably fair to say that he had a little drop. I think he did. Did they have another goalie, another import with them last season? I know they've got Oldale down there on the roster for this coming season, but I have it in my head that they had another import netminder, De Filippo. They had De Filippo who came in and did some games for them, and then Greener got hot again towards the end of the season. So being able to re-sign him, I think, is absolutely massive. But yeah, lots and lots of re-signings, and it's interesting the way that I think when you look at both Sheffield, much bigger roster set already with a lot of the re-signings that they've got, and then Belfast re-signing that alpha line from the Grand Slam year. I think it's shaping up to be a big battle at the top, which is really, really nice to see. And I really hope that we don't end up with a battle at the bottom for the bottom two. I really hope that we've got competitiveness across the league. What I'd like to see is a top 3, top 4 battle, and then the other 6 actually fighting for position, and 2 teams just losing out on playoffs. I don't want to see what we saw last season with Fife especially, but also with Manchester. I think we were in February, and it was patently clear that Manchester weren't going to make it into playoffs. So hopefully that's not something that we see again, but lots of interesting signings across the whole league.
Definitely, and that is obviously the signings haven't ended, and they're still going to be coming thick and fast over the next month and a half or so, 2 months. And we will, as I said, this is one off-season special. We're hoping to have another one before our regular podcast kicks back in again in August before the CHL starts. And so we will come back hopefully in the next month or so and see how things are progressing, and just do a quick catch up and coverage of anything new that has hit the news waves for the teams. Boys, that's all of the Elite League teams covered. I'm going to go back. We're going to stick with the Elite League before we move over to across the water to the NHL, just for a brief story, obviously, in the NHL. But Dave, I wanted to come back to you. Obviously, this off-season in June, we had 2 very special games that took place in the SSE Arena. And I think both only attended one of those games. And that was one of those games was a very enjoyable game for charity here in Northern Ireland. And that was the Hosp Ice event, which took place at the start of June. Do you want to take us through that?
Yeah, the Hosp Ice hockey event, in essence, is the Soccer Aid equivalent on ice hockey for Belfast, and hopefully it continues again, even if it's not a yearly thing or if it's every other year. It would be fantastic, raising the guts of 110,000 £110,000 to fund much needed services for the Hospice Association, which provides hospice care and assistance care to sick individuals across a multitude of different ailments, and it is in much need of funding. Most of its funding, I think all of its funding actually comes from donations from the public and from like-minded individuals. The event seen players from the Belfast Giants take on a mixed team of players from the likes of Peter Cech, who was no stranger to Belfast, stars from Derry Girls, Blue Lights, international rugby players, Ireland international rugby players, um, taken to the ice with our known Belfast Giants, in a very entertaining couple of hours. It was a phenomenal night to watch. I was sore laughing. There was a nice mix of people who could play that you didn't expect to be able to play, and people who just could not play. But they did everything they could to make it an entertaining night. People falling over left, right, and centre, but giving it 110% because it was for charity. Um, we've seen they did a special, basically period break game tournament. Went through all of the Giants period break events. So the bungee ball with two of our local boxers was interesting. We had the star Jamie Lee O'Donnell from the Derry Girls on the wee truck race
Carts,
kart
yeah.
thing. Um, the the ex Belfast Giants playing the bubble hockey with Davy Phillips cleaning everybody who was on that ice.
Can I
There was
just
an ele-
can I just mention on that one? Can I just mention like the amount of effort that Davy Phillips put into taking people out in a bubble hockey to the point where at one point I think it was his first tackle in bubble hockey, he would straight full on full pelt
off his
went in
feet.
to the point where he went down and everyone in the crowd went silent because everyone
Yeah,
did he hurt
he didn't.
himself?
He didn't
He didn't
move for a
move.
good 5, 10 minutes or something. It's unbelievable.
Everybody's like, "Oh my god, should we get first aid out here? Should we get people out to have check to see if he's okay?" Oh my word, it was like it's brutal. But then he got
Knowing
back up
Davey,
and
knowing
Crazy.
Davey, he was probably just having a wee sleep.
it's hilarious. Oh my god, it's hilarious.
The whole event was star-studded from the top to the bottom, and that goes even for players, hockey players from some of the biggest clubs in the world. Obviously, they used the opportunity as Sheldon Keefe was over for the testimonial to get him involved as a coach for one of the teams, and he was going hell for leather. He had at one point, I think that he had every non ice hockey player out on the ice at one stage, about 9 players in a shift change. It just sort of devolved into chaos. My boys had a great time at it. It was sort of a nice way to get ready for the summer, because obviously it was well past the end of the season, and it there as much as I laughed a lot, they've done some fantastic stories of how the hospice helps people, and there was a lot of tears during that as well. A lot of people we know that are either fans of the show or just people we know through the Giants spent a bit of time talking and giving their stories about how the hospice has changed their lives. And it didn't take me long to purchase one of the Keith Jury pictures, to give a big donation to the hospice, but also to have a memory keepsake of the event forever. So I'm sure our social media expert will send the link for donations for the hospice. It's still up. So there's still raffles and elements going on. There's currently a raffle up for some of the jerseys, the game worn jerseys, and I think they're hoping to keep pushing that money up as far as they can. It's as needed. It's probably one of the most used charities in Northern Ireland. I don't think everybody knows somebody who has been engaged with Northern Ireland Hospice, either for respite or for end of life care. I know certainly I have, and it's a much needed, and the volunteers need all the support they can get.
Yep, well said, Dave. Well said. I'll just reiterate that yeah, it was fantastic night from top to bottom. Everyone who's involved with that event should be very proud of themselves, not just for the money raised, but just for the sheer amount of effort that was put in and just the entertainment that was put on that ice. It was just phenomenal. And also the fact that we could finally say at the end of the day that Owen Nolan was in Belfast.
Yes.
Was seen in
He is,
Belfast because he was literally seen in
in
Belfast.
Belfast. And for a man of his age, Farrelly could still move.
He could indeed.
Unbelievable.
Could indeed. John, last story. We're just going to switch our attention across the water. Obviously, since our last podcast, the Stanley Cup finals have finished, and the currently, as of I think it's actually this weekend, is the current draft. I think it's going on as we speak.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're in free agency right now. So trades are happening. We've seen some big moves, but unless you were living under a rock, you will know that the Florida Panthers are the Stanley Cup champions. But let me talk to you about how they got there. In round one, as third seeds in the Atlantic, they faced off against their state rivals, the Tampa Bay Lightning. They defeated them in 5 games with a couple of very dominant wins in Game 1, which was 6-2, and Game 2, which was 2-0, before closing it out in Game 5 with a 6-3 victory. Now, the one that we were all interested in was round 2 because they went up against first seeds, the Toronto Maple Leafs, Marty's own team. They split the first 2 games. The Panthers surged in Game 3 with a 5-4 overtime win, then took Games 4 and 5 to lead the series 3-2. But Toronto would push back in Game 6, and Florida sealed it in Game 7 with a fairly embarrassing scoreline for the Toronto Maple Leafs of 6-1. Not a fantastic Game 7 for the Leafs. But the Panthers would move on to the Eastern Conference Final, facing off against the Carolina Hurricanes. Florida dominated, winning in 5 games, including a convincing 5-0 road win in Game 2. That would set up the Stanley Cup Final, a rematch Stanley Cup Final against the Edmonton Oilers and Connor McJesus. Game 1 was an overtime loss for Florida, 4-3. Game 2 was a thrilling 5-4 double overtime win. And if you haven't seen that double overtime win, go and watch it. It's a thing of beauty. Game 3 saw things change. It was a 6-1 victory at home over the Oilers. Game 4 was a setback, an overtime loss, 5-4. Game 5, a massive road win, 5-2, that pulled them ahead 3-2 in the series, and then they clinched it in Game 6 with an absolutely dominant 5-1 performance against an incredibly lackluster and heavy-legged Oilers. Connor McDavid looking like he may or may not be on the move from Oil Nation, depending on how you look at it. He looked incredibly dejected on the bench after the final whistle, but the Florida Panthers lift the Stanley Cup once again, becoming back-to-back champions.
Perfect, succinct, summarizes everything we need to summarize on it, and it was perfect. There you go. I feel like I've just give you
Can we talk a little bit about the fact that obviously I have no input to give here on playoffs because the Nashville Predators didn't make it. Aaron, even though he's not here, the Flyers didn't make it. But you guys, your teams made the playoffs. Marty, obviously, you're up here. I'll come to you first. Your team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, lost to the eventual champions in the form of the Panthers, but it was one of the few series that made it to Game 7 across the playoffs this year. Going in against Florida, did you think that the Leafs had a chance to go all the way? I know we talked on the podcast and off the podcast as well that what we were hoping for was a Leafs Wild final, and clearly the hockey gods decided that wasn't for it. But
I mean,
Marty, did you still believe coming up against the Panthers?
I mean, I think in the last podcast of this the last podcast of the season before we take a break for the summer, I think whenever we talked the playoffs, I think I was being realistic at the time. I think my heart, as I said in that podcast, my heart wanted Toronto to make it the whole way through to the final. But whenever we were sitting down and looking at our guesses about who would be moving forward, I think I was the first one to say they're going to go out after the second round. Did I think it was going to be against the Panthers? I don't know if I did. And I think whenever the games were, whenever it had transpired that they were up against the Panthers, whenever it did eventually happen, I think I texted you boys and I was just like, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I think I didn't lose faith, but I think I was just being realistic because I just felt like they look strong, and I don't think Toronto struggled. I thought in the first round, and I just thought moving after that, I was like, I don't think they're going to be strong enough. My dog just destroyed something there. I don't think they're going to be.
Your dog destroying your room like the Toronto Maple Leafs destroy your hopes and dreams.
I'm just more aware of a certain young lad. My son is currently sleeping in the room underneath the studio, and if he wakes up, someone will be very, very angry at me. It's the dog's fault. But yes, as I was saying, yeah, I think when it came to that point, I think it was a no-brainer. That I think I'm not saying I give up hope, but I think it was time to kind of admit defeat.
And take out the golf clubs.
Admit defeat. Yeah, for sure.
Dave, obviously, the Leafs made it through to the second round, but the Wild decided
tripped at the first round.
Round one was where they jumped off the plane.
Yeah, the Golden Knights were just better. However, I think they came in expecting it to be a little bit easier than it was. They definitely got a shock with a couple of those games. Some of the Vegas media. So the first match was obviously in Vegas because the where they were in the standings, and they sort of went into it with this sort of, well, we'll do this in 4, straight away, and just didn't happen for them. We did give them a couple of bloody noses, but they were, in the end, were just better, and they went on. They went on, lost, in almost a sweep to Edmonton, and then that sort of was the writing on the wall there. I don't think, even if the Wild had managed, it was going to be too much for them. Even if they had have got past the Knights, Edmonton would have had them dead to rights, in my opinion. The big surprise.
That's telling to me, because you look at the results that Edmonton had going through the bracket. So came up against the Kings, got rid of them in 6. Vegas got rid of them in 5. Dallas in the Western Conference Finals got rid of them in 5, and then fell in 6 games to Florida. Like, are Florida just under their skin? Like, to me, Edmonton are like the Glasgow Clan right now of the NHL. They're stacked. They continue to perform really well in like off ice things. Like, their trades are good. Their lines are good. They've got McJesus. Like, what do they have to do to get over this thing now? It almost feels like the Edmonton Florida final is like the now version of the Maple Leafs Boston. Like, that's where this is getting to. Is if the Oilers get to the final and it's Florida, it's not happening.
Yeah,
they just seem so flat through all the final. Now, granted, I didn't stay up to watch any of it because my team wasn't there. I didn't care. But like watching highlights and stuff, the Oilers looked like they never ever got out of first gear. It was the game 6 especially. That was a team that should have been putting everything on the line, and they looked gassed. Now, I know they come out and say that players were playing with broken hands and whatever else.
I tell you how
every team has that. I'm sorry, the Panthers have guys that are playing with massive injuries, and it doesn't matter.
I tell you how the Oilers beat the Panthers. You get rid of Bobrovsky.
Or just run him in game 1.
Yeah.
Run him hard in game 1. Let somebody take the ban. Yeah.
100%. What I will say is we probably will come
Matt
back
Nickerson
to
signs for the Edmonton Oilers for 1 game.
We will come back to
Joe Grimaldi signs for the Edmonton Oilers.
Nice. As I was saying, we will come back to the Stanley Cup later in the summer, probably one of our later episodes this summer, because what we always like to do as a segment especially in our overtime segment at least, is have a quick look at what the Stanley Cup has got up to over the summer. So we will get up to that.
Can we talk about one right now?
No,
we're going to talk about one. Have you seen the crack?
Yeah.
Like 24 hours in, they broke it tremendously.
Because there is one event, one of the players so far has took it home, and obviously whatever it was, and there was a really funny video that's went around, and I'm going to hold on to it though, because but it's been my favorite one so far. It's of the, for anybody who doesn't know, who doesn't really isn't aware of what happens during the summer for playoff champions, is the Stanley Cup. Each player from the team will get a day or so with the Stanley Cup to kind of do what they want with the cup. And so in the past, we see things like players with newborn babies, and the newborn baby in the trophy. We've seen ones where they've been on the deck on a boat with it, having a barbecue with it and stuff. And we've seen ones where you've had them in.
Went to baseball, wasn't it?
Ovi went to baseball, and he also had it in the middle.
Ovi did a lot with the cup. Let's be fair.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, he also had it in the fountain as well. It was a load of things, but so yeah, we'll kind of go through what the best days were of the Stanley Cup, and we'll do that as a feature in a future podcast. So we will come back to it later in the season, and we'll also probably have a quick look at the draft and how the draft has kind of happened, and what the draft looks like.
Did you win the draft? Did you win the lottery, John? Thought you might have got something out of the season.
Oh
no.
Boys, do we have anything else before we round off this episode? Nope.
I think so.
Perfect. Well, if we don't have anything else, then it's time to wrap up this show. As I said, it is our off-season special, and we will be back later in the summer for another off-season special before our regular season commences in August. We're saying August because that's whenever the first CHL games are, and also the preseason games all will start around that time. So we will come back for our regular season show around about that mid-August time, and also to mark our 10-year anniversary, as I mentioned at the start of this show. So with that, let's round off as we always do. Let's point you in the direction of our social media channels. You can get us on all social media: Facebook, X, TikTok, whatever, at Door14 Hockey. Check out this episode, all previous episodes on our website at door14hockey.com. Don't forget, if you haven't done so, send us a fax. We'll get you the number for that. For the if you haven't done so already, if you're watching us on YouTube and you haven't done so already, or if you decide you want to go and watch the YouTube version of this podcast, go on to Door14 Hockey on YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe. Hit the little alert button somewhere here, which will alert you whenever we go live and all that good stuff. Ring a bell. Somewhere here, and also you can check out some of the old podcasts as well, video versions of that on our YouTube channel. Boys, that is it for this episode. It's just a matter of us then signing off. Oh, I did forget one thing. Traditional is we are a podcast, so don't forget to check out your podcast provider of choice, and don't forget to review, subscribe, leave a star rating, whatever it is on your podcast provider of choice. It does help us in the long run in the algorithm or whatever it is. We did get notification actually this past week or two. It's a pretty exciting thing for us. May not be massive, but for us it was pretty exciting. We did get an email, and we did get some notification to say we were officially in the top 100 of the influential NHL podcasts in the UK. I was like, wow, okay, fair enough. Still be sitting
in the top 100 in Canada.
And the top 100 in Canada, which was quite interesting. So yes, thank you to all our Canadian listeners.
Those two guys in Columbus as well.
So no, it was pretty exciting. So no, we're always thankful for anybody who does take the time to listen and to interact with us. So please do so. We do appreciate that. And that is it for this podcast. All that's left for us to do is to sign off. I'm Marty.
I'm Dave.
I'm John.
Have a great rest of your summer.